Hey everyone, it's Will Kern from Endless Events here again with Stacyann Doria. Stacy has been doing some amazing work in the events industry and has been doing some talks that I think are really important for everyone to hear when it comes to leadership and understanding the multi-generational gap that we have, especially in the events industry now. So we're going to talk some tactical tips and things that you should be aware of when it comes to, how can we bridge the gap, would you say?
Yeah, bridging the gap.
So tell me a little bit about what you talk about in your session and what people need to know.
Yeah, so we basically talk about the gap between generations and leaderships, in the workplace. So, one of the things we talk about is with millennials, they're always casted as being lazy and entitled and, just wanting, they think they deserve everything, so entitled. And so we talk about that, and we talk about how in the workplace, what are we doing to empower millennials to get to the next plan, even succession planning in the workplace. And just saying that millennials are this lazy group of people, the gap between millennials and the next generation, they're born within, a 20 plus year gap, 78 to almost 92, so almost 20 years, I should say.
Yeah.
I do math, I do events, not math, right?
That's hard.
Right? So, so you're talking about a, 20-year difference between some of these people. And so to say that everyone is this lazy generation is absolutely horrible. And if that's how you feel, what are you doing to help me? Like, how are you helping me in the workplace to get to the next step?
And spoken by an actual millennial hanging out with you, I definitely feel the same way. It's like if you were described that way, how would you feel towards someone else? Asking you to do something.
Words I won't say on camera. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how can we start to tie it in a little bit closer. What sort of actionable things can we do today for someone who says, I work with a lot of millennials, and also, let's start with that one, and then maybe we can also talk about what can millennials do upwards.
Yeah, so in the workplace, there should be succession planning, right? And so you want for the people that's working with you and for you and reporting to you to be to be the person who's going to take your role, because ideally you're trying to move up as well. So you should be hiring people that's smarter than you, right? And the way I look at it as well is that I did not get here by myself. It was the help of someone else mentoring me and teaching me the way and the ropes so that I knew how to grow in my development. So, for example, myself, I have younger, junior event professionals. So I work hand in hand with them, and I talk them through my process and how I get to cutting a budget and saving money and choosing F&B to please the groups. So you really do. You mentor them through the steps because you want them to grow within the industry. They are the people that are going to take over. I am a millennial, right? So I always consider myself a constant student, but I also consider myself a teacher. And then I forgot the next question.
How can millennials also kind of help that change?
You also have to be willing to grow and willing to take that advice. You can't be so stuck that if someone says, hey, you did something wrong, you're like, well, let me tell you something and what you did wrong. It's not that, you have to also trust that someone's coming from a place of good when they're helping you. But at the same time, events like this, coming here and doing these sessions and just networking with your peers, you're going to learn something new constantly. This industry is evolving daily. So if you think you know it all, you are already starting off at the wrong place.
Absolutely. I think that I definitely take that to heart. Definitely a lifelong learner and grower. That the second that you feel like I know it all and I'm the best of the best, that's when you really got to shift your mindset to saying there is way more to learn.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's unpack this more as well, because there's so much to that. I believe that we can definitely take for us. What are sort of tactical tips can we do to bridge that gap?
Didn't I just answer that?
How about more? You got more. You got more. Tell me all about that. Tell me everything. Give it.
In the workplace too, let me think. In the corporate world, right? You have to be willing to look at that junior person, right? A lot of times people are saying, you need somebody with 10 plus years, 15 plus years. Yeah. I know I didn't start with 10 plus years experience, right? In terms of bridging that gap, also, it is that mentorship. I think that's really big. And it's also not only within the industry or within your area of the industry, it's outside of that. So for me as a planner, I don't just network and look for mentors with other planners. I'm looking at my suppliers, I'm looking at my hoteliers, I'm looking at my other vendors, whether it's booth companies or, AV, whatever it may be, to work together on that, because I'm hoping that my knowledge is a well-rounded knowledge. So once you start doing that, you are going to just eventually gradually work together as a group, as a team, because that's another thing that I love about events. I'm sorry, I'm probably going all over.
Do it.
Is that my success is not just my success, it's our success. And we all have to work together as a team to put on that successful show, right? So then when you're working together as a group of people, that's gonna just naturally bridge that gap. Because now maybe I'm working with you who has, 10 years working with camera and film, and I'm working with, Patrick, who has 10 plus years of AV, and maybe I am working with somebody on a junior side and a hotel side who's maybe within the industry maybe 3 years. A great example is I just did an event at a hotel. I didn't like the setup of the room. And they said to me, I've always done the room like this. It always works like this. There's no other way to do it. And I said, okay, no problem. Do you mind if I take a look at the room and move tables? And she was like, fine, you could do it. Kind of like, I've done my part. But then by the time we moved the table, she came back in and she was taking pictures of the room. She's like, I've never seen it this way. I never knew you could do it this way. And it was just a matter of opening your eyes and your mind to the possibility that there is a different way of doing it.
It's interesting because this can definitely be applied not only just to having an acceptance of multi-generation, but also just acceptance of ideas and change.
Right.
And how can we be open to this idea that we don't know everything?
Right.
And we don't know what we don't know, right?
Exactly.
What sort of things? So we talked a little bit about how sometimes there's some stereotypes, I think, around younger generations. What sort of positions do you feel like, we always tend to hear that I think the token job position for a millennial is the social media manager, right?
Always.
How many times you get asked, oh yeah, you just
the
know
paper pusher,
Yep.
The project coordinator. You're never given a role with any power, with any meaning. And you have to trust that, because at the same time, when I'm doing an event, I can't do it all. And I do not want to do it all. I was just working with two of my managers, and like I said, they're junior on food and beverage, right? So we're talking about, they're choosing the menu, and of course it's, they're East Coast, so it's around their lunchtime, so they're super hungry and they're choosing what they would want. And I had to stop them and go, hey, what about the vegans? What about the vegetarians? What about the gluten-free? So as I'm helping them do that, and I see that, oh, now I'm starting to get it, I step back. I said, okay, now you guys finish the rest of the menu, and if you have any questions, come to me. But that was it. You kind of guide and you walk away. You trust that the people that you have working with you know what they're doing. And you also trust that if they have a question, they're going to come to you and say, I have a question about this.
How do you think that we can help build better trust amongst everybody? Any sort of ideas and tips that you have to be able to allow that to happen? Because we tend to say, oh, I'm a trusting person, I'm not a trusting person,
Yeah.
things like that. How do you think that someone can build that level where they can...
I think you also have to know that failure is okay. Right? No one's 100% perfect at anything. I remember one of my very first events, I forgot to tell someone to close the museum for an event. We didn't shut down the museum for a 10,000 person event. And I was like, well, this is how I go down, but it was a mistake that I learned from. No one died. We got the museum shut. It was okay. So I think trusting someone else first starts with trusting yourself. And it's really hard, and trusting that, okay, I know that when they do the menu and they do everything, I'm not that I'm micromanaging, but I'm going to look it over. And if I see something that's wrong, no problem. It's happened before the event. Now it's a teachable moment, right? I also think that coming to sessions and to trade shows like this kind of helps to build your trust, because a lot of times you walk into a session and it could just be, this is the only session that has a CEU, or this session has someone that I think might be funny, so I'll deal with it. And then you go in there with this mindset of, I know everything they're going to say, so I'm really not here for that. And then all of a sudden someone says something as simple as, hey, by the way, I negotiated this pre-contract. And you're like, wait, you can negotiate that pre-contract? I had no idea you could do that. So it kind of makes you step out of yourself and go, I don't know it all. Right? So then those little things happen, and now all of a sudden you find yourself more in the student position, always willing to learn something new, and then you start trusting people.
I think that's a really, really great point. I mean, definitely something that you said too is that, you know, this idea that it's probably going to be okay at the end too. This
It
idea
is.
that like we tend to panic and worry, this is going to work out, this is not going to be okay. But
Yeah.
really, I mean, a lot of times it's about letting go in some
It
ways, or
is.
delegating and letting it
Yeah,
someone take a
and
chance.
I mean that's part of your like mental health too, you know. So like you can't live in a state of stress all the time, and I feel like when I do start getting kind of worked up and panicked, I allow myself to feel that, and I allow myself to go through those emotions, and then I step back, and usually I step back with a handful of jelly beans. That's my coping. But I step back and I go, is it really that serious? And sometimes you need to put it away, walk to something new, and come back. You know, for me, I work remotely, so sometimes when I start feeling that way, I literally take my dog for a walk, and that is it. It could be to the end of the court and back, but just stepping away for a moment and just going, okay, is it that serious? And you come back new, and you're like, wait a second. I don't have a shortage of rooms. I have this room over here that I can use. It's fine. Like, it just happened to me yesterday where I was like, oh my God, they need 10 breakout sessions, and I have 7 rooms. I have 9 rooms, and I just couldn't see how to use that 9th room differently. And all I did literally was I closed my computer, I came down to the show floor, I walked around, and the idea popped in my head, and that was it. You know, so I allowed myself to experience those emotions to get to where I needed to be.
I love it. I love it. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience when it comes to anything leadership related, multi-generationally?
Anything that they should say it again?
Oh, anything you want to share at all?
Stop the grouping of saying that everyone is one way. We all know that's not true. The struggle is universally real. And, you know, just always make sure that the people that you're working with are the people that you want in your role. Because, I mean, you're hoping to grow, they're hoping to grow. So my thing is make sure that you're building a team of people smarter than yourself, and make sure that you always know that you are a constant student, but you always have something else to teach someone.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Stacyann, where can people find you, and where can they learn more about what you've been working on?
So I am the head narrator of the event narrative. I think that's cute. So you can find me at theeventnarrative.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Stacyann Doria, and my extracurricular is cooking. I'm like at-home chef, and I think I'm pretty good at it. So maybe you might find me on Instagram. I'm not telling you where I am, but you might find me there too.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm gonna have to come over and try some of that amazing food.
It's good.
Thank you so much for being on the show,
All right,
and we really
thank
appreciate
you.
everything. And we'll hopefully see you again very, very soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you.